Hello and welcome to another episode of Graham Hughes' PUBCAST. And once again, we're in a pub.
We are in a pub, and once again, we're in the CIRCUS Cafe and Gin Bar in York.
Yeah.
We've got a nice vista behind us
Which
again.
you can't see because it's all whited out on the camera, but
there is a bridge there.
And
it does look very nice.
It's the old toll booth, isn't it?
It looks like it. The toll booth for the troll.
For the trolls.
For the trolls.
For the trolls.
And Graham.
Yes.
You could have dressed for the occasion.
I know, I could have done, couldn't I? So the reason why I'm dressed as a ringmaster is because we are putting on a circus in Manchester. I mentioned this at the end of the last video, but on Sunday, September the 29th, we are taking over Deansgate in Manchester for a big circus parade, and then we're going to have a Guinness World Record attempt to have the most clowns in one place, the biggest gathering of clowns.
And this is actually a verifiable Guinness World Record,
yes,
isn't
it will be.
What's the current record?
Well, there isn't one, you see.
Oh.
But we've got to get at least 800 for it to be a record.
Right, okay. So come dressed as a clown. Some would say that we are clowns as it is. I'm sure there's going to be some of those comments on this.
Yeah, I mean, come dressed as a clown or just get in touch and we'll try and sort you out. We need at least 800 people to dress as clowns. And then we've got control of Castlefield Bowl for the whole afternoon and evening.
All right.
We're putting on a stage. We're doing a show called Euphoria. It's like a political rally like no other.
EU with a capital E and a capital U, because there is a TV show called Euphoria. And
which we don't know about.
Which we know nothing about.
Exactly. It was such a great hashtag.
It was.
Damn you, HBO, or whoever makes
we have to make sure that you're looking at the right Euphoria.
But yeah, if you go to the website, Cirque de Resist, it's Cirque, CIRQUE, deresist.com.
Yep.
It's got the full lineup there.
And I'm sure Graham's going to put it in a link here as well.
Yeah, so. I'll put it here. Look, that's the link there. Look at the link. I just put it. Okay, so from 1 o'clock till 10 o'clock, we're going to have this sort of political rally. But I've been to too many political rallies. I don't really want to go to anymore and be told that Brexit's a bad thing. So we're kind of trying to get away from the whole word, the B word. In fact, if you go on the website, I don't use the B word.
The B word isn't mentioned at all. And we're going to be looking at what's positive about EU membership and things like that.
Yeah.
And it's also, coincidentally, we're going to have all these clowns in Manchester, but there's going to be a whole other bunch of clowns in Manchester the same weekend, isn't there?
Yes, because this is the day of the start of the Tory party conference.
So come and say hello to those clowns. I noticed someone was saying on one of the chat rooms that they've got a phobia about clowns. Well, you know.
Best way to cure it, really.
Yeah, this is going to be quite an exposure for you, I think.
So, just come around a little bit towards me, because you're getting out of frame there.
Yeah, I do.
So I just want to talk a little bit about Euphoria, this event. So there's going to be a stage, we're going to have music, we're going to have comedy, we're going to have comedy sketches. We've got Mitch Ben, you know Mitch Ben, the pro-EU activist with the guitar. He did he did one of the three blokes in the pub with us.
Okay, yeah, Mitch Ben, I remember him now.
Before I rebranded it all PUBCAST. But yeah, Mitch is going to be our circus master, our ring master.
And even though it's in Manchester, we're having 4 Yorkshiremen.
You're obsessed with the Yorkshiremen. He's going to be one of the Yorkshiremen.
But we are allowed to come to Manchester for the day, even if you're in Yorkshire. You don't even have to bring your passport or nothing.
Anyway, so the reason why the event is being held on that day is it's the supposed first day of the Tory party conference. However, that might not happen. The Tory party conference might well be cancelled. In which case, we're still going ahead with the parade, with the pro-EU parade, and we're still going ahead with the clown world record, and we're still going ahead with Euphoria and the show and everything, because we've got it all set up. It's all been paid for. No, it hasn't been paid for yet, but it will be all paid for. We're also going to have a big top. I've told you about this with a Festival of Europe inside, with food and drink and festivities and things from all over the EU.
Yeah, and so it's going ahead, even though there may not be a Tory party conference, because we are not mentioning the B word. We are celebrating our membership of the EU.
Yeah, but why won't the Tory party conference go ahead, Adam?
Well, it's all going to custard for them, really, isn't it? And
no.
Well, it is.
No, I think the Tories are going to call an election, and Labour are stupid enough to go, oh yeah, we won an election, even though they got 14.1% of the vote in the last elections, the EU elections. 14.1%.
Yeah, that's staggering, isn't it? I was just talking to someone on the train coming up from Doncaster, and he was saying, you know, if the Labour Party had a decent leader, they'd be romping this. This was a guy who was a mechanical fitter for the railways.
Yeah.
He was travelling from Peterborough to Durham or Darlington or something to do some work, and he said, what, we got talking, and he said, why are you going to York? And I told him about this, and he immediately subscribed, and he said, you know, if the Labour Party had a decent leader, they would be able to turn this country around from the disaster. And this is a guy who's...
They'd be able to get rid of all of the food banks because they would be unnecessary. Again, food banks were created in like the 80s for people who are on strike.
Yeah.
Not for working nurses.
Not for nurses. Do you know what amazed me? We've just walked, I mean, the railway station's sort of a 7-minute walk that way in York. Did you notice how many homeless people we walked past?
Yeah. Homelessness has skyrocketed under the Tories.
It's unbelievable. And, you know, this is like, you know, quite a tourist department.
They do it on purpose.
Yeah, it's...
Look what happens if you don't toe the line. Look what happens if you don't keep your head down and work hard.
Yeah.
And what they've done this week is they've said they're going to put the retirement age up to 75.
They want to put the retirement age up to 75. And so that, I mean, I don't think I'll see it. You know, it's absolutely staggering. You know, they're just, it's just embedded in them that they're going to fuck us over more and more.
Yeah.
And it's a, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not even a policy anymore. It's a religion to them. It's a cult.
Okay, well, let's start talking about the process of what could happen over the next couple of months. I'm calling this video a vote of no confidence because that's what's got
I've got no confidence.
Triggered in order to be a general election. Well, there's two ways it can happen. So under the 2011 Fixed Term Parliament Act, unlike in previous years, the government can't just turn around and say, let's have a general election. Can't do that anymore. So there's rumours today swirling around that there's going to be a general election announced. That can't happen. Parliament's not sitting, right? Fixed term Parliament. The clue is in the name of the bill. There's only two ways we can have an election, as far as I'm aware. Please feel free to correct me in well, technically, if it's a Thursday and someone's wearing a silly hat, then no. Okay, right.
But we are on a Tuesday and you're wearing a silly hat.
As far as I'm aware, there's only two ways. So one of the ways is for the government to say, we are going to put down an act to say we want another election. It needs to get 2/3 majority in the House of Commons, so it would have to be supported by both Labour and the Conservatives.
Yeah.
So they both must want an election, which at the moment might seem like electoral suicide looking at the results of the recent EU elections, but I'll come on to that. The other way that you can have a general election is if the one person in the universe who can tell the leader of the Conservative Party as a Prime Minister that they don't have any confidence in their government. This is different from not having confidence in the leader themselves, like what happened with Theresa May last December, where they had a vote of no confidence in Theresa May and she won that vote, so she did not have to step down as leader, but that wouldn't have stopped the government being the government. So you have a vote of no confidence on the 3rd of September when Parliament get back. And the only person who can call that is Jeremy Corbyn. He's already said
the leader of the opposition,
that he won't do it until he is confident he has the numbers.
But
here's the problem.
Yes.
He's never going to have the numbers.
No, because Dominic Grieve and others who seem to be okay Tories, I mean, they're not all evil spawns of the devil, have said they have no confidence in a Jeremy Corbyn-led government. Because the vote of no confidence, if Labour won, they have 14 days to set up a...
No, everyone in Parliament's got 14 days.
Anyone in
Parliament.
But realistically, it is the Labour Party who've got the biggest numbers in opposition.
But they haven't got enough alone.
No, they haven't got enough alone. But what I'm saying is that someone has 14 days to set up a parliament that
commands a majority
and commands the confidence
of the House. So we're talking about a government of national union or
unity,
or GNU, right? Which is a type of animal, I think.
Yes, it is. Yeah,
type of yak or something. So anyway, if Jeremy Corbyn does call a vote of no confidence in Boris Johnson, which he might well do, then his ambition is to become Prime Minister in those 2 weeks by commanding a majority in the House of Parliament. Now, we need to buy Jeremy Corbyn a calculator because he hasn't got the numbers to do that. Now, we're not saying Jeremy Corbyn has to step down as leader of Labour Party. He can still be the leader of the Labour Party, and when the general election comes, he can still lead them full steam aground, as was on the front of the Private Eye today. I love that. It's him as a captain on a boat. Full steam aground. So fine, take your 14.1% of the electorate who actually want you, and do what you like. But the Government of National Unity, if it was under Harriet Harman, the mother of the house, so she's the oldest female in the house, or Ken Clarke, who's the father of the house, which is the oldest male in the house, one of those, as caretaker PM, would command a majority so long as Jeremy Corbyn tells his MPs to support them. That would allow that Government of National Unity to postpone Brexit, hopefully for another 10 years, 10 millennia, but, postpone it so we can have a general election. But, and here is the big but, and I like big buts and I cannot lie. If there's an election right now, there was an election today, the Tories will walk it.
They would. They've got the Boris bounce.
No, it's not that. They've got the Brexit voters back, because Boris is promising no deal Brexit. So he's going to get all the people who went to the Brexit party in the last election, they're all going to go to Boris Johnson.
A significant proportion of them come back.
And even if it's only 33% of the electorate, it's going to be more than the Lib Dems and Labour. They might not get an overall majority, but they will have more MPs than anybody else.
Yeah.
And this is the huge concern, and this is my huge problem with keeping Jeremy Corbyn as leader of the Labour Party. We need a vote of no confidence in Jeremy Corbyn. Yes. Labour MPs who disagree with him for his anti-EU stance over the years. Jeremy Corbyn was voting against the EU before I was born. 1974, he voted against it.
Did he?
Yeah, I think it was 74. Was he in Parliament in 74? I'm going to have to look that up now.
Do you know when we did the?
I'm only young. I was born in 1992.
Yeah, right. When we did the PUBCAST from the car, and we were talking about Jeremy Corbyn, right? What amazes me is the amount of people who tore us to pieces about some of this stuff that we mentioned about Jeremy Corbyn.
Torn to pieces?
Well, okay, trolls had a go at us. But, what amazes me is how blindly these people are following him.
I wouldn't call them trolls, mate. Trolls are just people who just insult you and say something about your mum. No, what you're talking about is people who are the die-hard Corbynistas. They are in love with Jeremy Corbyn. And I keep talking about this. The motivation of a lot of the people who want Brexit, and want Trump, and want Corbyn, and want all these crackers and lunatics to be in charge, are generally motivated by an actual love for those people.
For those people, that's what.
Because those people make them feel good.
And that's what
which is why we're putting on Euphoria, Sarto Resistance.
We're not going to have a real elephant.
We're going to have a massive inflatable elephant.
Yeah, but not a real one.
Not a real one. We're actually, this is design work here by the Manchester artist Stanley Chow, which is really, really cool.
That is pretty.
Yeah, thanks, Stanley. You're a legend. You're a ledge. Loads of people are actually chipping in for free and helping it actually happen. But we still have to hire a lot of stuff, which is where the crowdfunder comes in. So please go to the website circusresist.com and chip in a $5 or something, because otherwise the show's not going to happen.
Well, yeah, that's right.
But I was speaking to Manchester for Europe because they're the people who are putting it on. Mm-hmm. I'm helping them organise it, but they're the people putting it on. And I'm like, look, if we don't make enough money, as long as we cover the deposits for the equipment and stuff that we need, then it can still go ahead.
Yeah.
And the parade can literally just be us carrying things down the street. the show can be a soapbox with me standing on it going, here's bollocks to Brexit.
Well, you're not mentioning the B word.
Not mentioning the B word, no. I didn't think of that when I did my promo video. because I mentioned it quite a lot.
Well, you did at the beginning.
Yeah.
I've seen the first cut of the promo video. It is well worth. I don't think you've uploaded it yet, but it is quite entertaining.
I need to add subtitles so people can watch it while they're walking down.
As you can see, it's a bit of a wallflower.
I just blend into the background.
Yeah.
I'm not actually going to be ringmaster on the day. It's going to be
someone else.
Mitch Ben and perhaps very, very special guest. But that's in the
future.
In the future, yeah.
Okay, so
it will be announced. At some
it will
point.
be announced, right?
But,
so
yeah, comedy, lots of comedy.
Lots of comedy.
Anyway, we're getting off the point.
We are, but
CircuDeResist.com.
He's always plugging something, you know.
All one word.
All one word.
And it's CIRQUE.
Yeah. Go and have a look at it. It's a really good website.
I'm going to just keep flashing it up at the bottom. Please go to the website.
Yeah.
It's very beautifully designed by Paul Somerville. Our friend
Paul.
who's been on PUBCAST with us in the
couple
past.
of podcasts, yeah.
And he is a webmaster. He is the master of the web.
Bit of
Spider-Man.
He's an evil genius. But he's not evil, actually. You're not evil.
He's not
Paul.
evil at all. He's like the loveliest bloke you'll ever
He's
meet.
quite a nice genius, you know.
Anyway,
So anyway, back to the point. So the numbers in Parliament are not good for
Jeremy
Corbyn, right?
Being interim leader. So it's fine.
And the Liberal
Democrats.
Democrats.
He can still run an election. He can still go for election.
But the Liberal Democrats have said they will not go into a government of national unity with him either.
Yeah.
Which part of me thinks is a little bit harsh. You know, even though I'm a member of the Liberal Democrat Party.
They've only got 14 MPs. It doesn't really matter. It does matter, but the point is that the Lib Dems are a part. If Joe Swinston was saying, "I want to be the interim Prime Minister," I'd be like, "Fuck off, Joe.
Yeah.
You're all ego. It's all about you. You're commanding a minority party that's only got 14 MPs. What's wrong with you? Let the person in charge be someone who can command the majority in the House."
And also command the respect.
She knows she can't.
Yeah.
But also she knows that Jeremy Corbyn can't either. But the Labour propaganda machine has gone into overdrive in the same way that when Boris Johnson became Prime Minister a couple of weeks ago, God, that seems like such a long time ago now.
3 or 4 weeks.
When he became Prime Minister, Labour didn't go after him.
No, they went after Joe
They went
Swinson.
after Joe Swinson.
It's just bizarre, isn't it? You know.
No, it's just this tribal mentality that is, thankfully, one good thing, I guess, of Brexit is it's broken people from their lifelong tribal affinities.
Tribal affinity to the Labour
I know
Party.
Tory voters who will never vote Tory again after all this. I know Labour voters who will never vote Labour again after all this. So that's a good thing because football. Politics isn't football.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't go, oh, I've got to support Everton because, you know, my uncle likes Everton, so I'll support them because he took me to a match once.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and then even if they do shit, you still support them because you're like, well, they're my team. One day they'll do all right.
But the Labour Party aren't on my team.
They are not on anyone's team. I mean, when they say not for the many,
they say for the many, not the few.
I think that is such a terrible, terrible slogan. Because it just sounds to me like fuck minorities.
It's not. Yeah, it could have been.
I know what they're getting at. Because they're going, oh, not for the 1%, but they don't say that, and it just sounds like mob rule.
Yeah, and they've got a bit of a history of anti-Semitism at the moment.
If you look into sort of the psychology behind the Labour propaganda, you have this situation where we as Remainers are technically, as a result of the fraudulendum, the few. Yeah. Even though we're 48% of the population, and we only got 48%. I mean, we got 48% with David Cameron.
Yeah.
With Jeremy Corbyn apparently on our side, but going on holiday for 2 weeks. With the other side breaking the law massively, overspending, stealing people's data via Cambridge Analytica, and just getting away with it all. Facebook got fined $5 billion. I'll say that again. Facebook got fined $5 billion for the Cambridge Analytica scandal. Has that affected the fact that the advisory fraudulendum should possibly be run again? But even with our hands tied behind our backs and a terrible, terrible stronger in campaign, we still got 48%.
Yeah.
It's quite remarkable, you know. If they pulled the thumb out their arse, I mean, you imagine how many we could have got.
And that's one thing I've noticed about, I got introduced to Graham through the 48% group on Facebook, I think. And there's all these things like we've got Tim Heimerdinger, who's a drummer, and he's living over in Europe now, and terrific bloke. And I met him through the Plan B lounge. But then, since I've been in a few of these, people have sent me friend requests, and I accept them, and you're all terrific people.
Only the sexy ones.
No, I'm not so sexy.
Friends.
So. I'm not so sexy.
All our friends are sexy.
All our friends are sexy, but they're all nice
and very clever.
But the thing is that then all of a sudden I get all these invitations to like other groups, and it doesn't seem cohesive to me. It doesn't seem unified. That it's like, oh, join Sheffield for Europe, and then there's join South Yorkshire for Europe, and join Manchester for Europe. I feel we're a bit, and that was how the EU referendum was. We weren't cohesive on the Remain side, and we don't have a Remain party.
No,
we have parties that support Remain.
We've got a Brexit party.
But we've got the Brexit party that they say we want Brexit, and it's hard hitting, and that's why they did so well in the European elections.
With the help of Dr. Mike Galsworthy, Project Hope, which I was raising money for at the beginning of the year, has actually done a lot of good work with setting up these groups online, because if you want to pay for stuff on Facebook, right, and you're the Tory party and you've got millions and you can just spend that money willy-nilly, because something like most of the money that the Conservative Party gets in is from dead people, like they bequeath it in their wills. Yeah. Anyway, if you got that, that's fine, but we don't have that. We are all grassroots supporters of the EU and the EU itself won't give us money to do this because they don't want to get involved in Britain's
politics,
civil fucking war that we're going through at the moment. They're like, listen guys, we can't get involved. And we're like, but the other side are so horrifically well funded by tyrannical billionaires like Rupert Murdoch, like Aaron Banks and all those idiots. I don't think he's a billionaire, he's a millionaire.
Yeah, but he's a bastard.
He is a bastard. And also Putin. I mean, let's not beat around the bush.
Well,
who would benefit the most from Britain breaking off from a union with 21 of the 29 members of NATO?
Could it be the Russians?
I don't bring the Russian people into this.
No, the Russians as in the government.
The Kremlin.
The Kremlin,
yeah, the Kremlin. The same Kremlin that applauded, that was the Duma, the Parliament applauded when Trump got in.
Oh, no.
Funny that.
And it's funny that Trump never apparently met Vladimir Putin. Yeah. That's been discredited a little bit.
Well, also the fact that basically every time Trump gets a chance to talk about NATO, he discredits it.
Yes.
And complains about countries not giving their 2%, which was negotiated and organised by Barack Obama, not by Trump, right? 2% of their GDP to be spent on military, right? And how they allocate that 2% is up to them.
Yeah.
But some countries are bigger than others. So if you think of Germany, that's the fourth biggest economy in the world. 2% on its military is a fuckload of money.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't really think Germany should have the second biggest army in the world. Thank you very much. I'm not. Yeah. It's
not a historical thing.
No. Just any country, really. Yeah. It's like, why are we spending all this money on weapons that kill things that don't need to be dead, when we could be spending it on making the world a better place and fighting climate change
and things like that.
Yeah. And we're kind of getting off the point a bit here. We are. Are we losing our audience? Come back. We're going to talk about votes of no confidence.
Well,
again.
What amazed me about the audience is that how many people wrote, I'm part of the 31%. That's a new hashtag, isn't it? 31%.
The 31%.
The 31% who
stay till the end. We're only like 25 minutes in, so I think we have a few people staying for this bit. If you stay to the end, you get a special gift. No, you don't.
No.
I'm lying.
Full of shit. A copy of Sunday's Times for you.
So, we've walked through the process of what would happen if we have a vote of no confidence. Boris Johnson can also call an election.
Because he's the Prime Minister.
Because he's the Prime Minister. No, but he has to get the support of the House to do that, and it's got to be 2/3 of the House.
Right.
So he would have to get the support of Labour to call a general election. Now, there's a part of me that thinks like Jeremy Corbyn is a really very, very, very stupid man. He's a guy who had the benefits of a very good education, some of which was private and paid for by his rich parents.
He didn't do particularly well in it, apparently.
He got 2 A levels and he got the worst grade you could possibly get.
Is that an E or a D?
An E, yeah, in both of them. To still call it an A level.
Yeah.
I think after that it's like N nearly and U unclassified. He's done so bad. But yeah, he's not a clever man. He reminds me of the 1979 movie with Peter Sellers being there. If you get a chance to watch this film, it's really good. Yeah. It's about this very simple-minded gardener who becomes president of the United States because everyone thinks he's such a nice guy, but he's an idiot and he's just being manipulated by the people around him. Seamus Mill. So Jeremy himself, I don't think he's a bad guy. I really don't. I think he's an idiot. I don't think he's been manipulated.
I think
but at the moment, he is in such a powerful position. A one man who can change the fate of the world. This isn't just Britain. This is the world.
It could bring them down, couldn't it? I mean, when I've got strangers telling me that, you know, if they've got an effective leader...
He could bring them down by standing down.
Yeah, it could. And that would unify the Labour Party. And, okay, I think Jeremy Corbyn has got some good... There are some good policies and some...
come on, but they're photocopied from the 2015 manifesto of Ed Miliband's.
I do prefer him to say Boris Johnson or Priti Patel or whoever, but...
I would prefer syphilis to Boris Johnson.
So what you're saying is like Jeremy Corbyn and Boris Johnson, it's like choosing what you're going to die of, cholera or typhoid.
Yes.
Right, the black shit.
Well, I'd rather mean Brexit. And this thing about Jeremy Corbyn's speech yesterday before he fucked off on holiday to Africa, because there's nothing important going on.
No, fuck off.
He said, he made it very clear, as he always says he makes it very clear, but he doesn't. But you've got to read between the lines a lot with Jeremy Corbyn because he is a career politician. He's been a politician all his life. He's very good at it. He knows how to just say the things that are kind of true, and you know, it's like lawyer speak. You know, when you're covering all your bases. It's like the person who talks very fast at the end of an advert for medicine in America.
Oh, yeah.
Might cause diarrhea and death. Side effects include.
Side effects include.
But yeah, the way he put it forward was he wants a general election. So he doesn't want a referendum before a general election. He wants a general election first, and then he wants a referendum in which all options are on the table. That would include no deal, which I do not believe should be a decision, because it's a decision to literally go to war with the rest of the world. I don't think that's a decision that he should be allowed to, the people of the country should be lumbered with.
And the thing is, right, is you've got these headbangers who are saying the people knew what they were voting for. No, they didn't, right? I mean, they were given a binary choice. Shall we stay in the EU, yes or no? Right? People chose no for whatever reason. I think they were wrong. But the point is that all through that campaign and afterwards, they were saying, we'll not trigger Article 50 until we've got a better deal than what we've already got. Yeah. It'll be the easiest deal in history. It'll be this, that and the other. And I have here a copy of Sunday's Times. Thank you, Alan Pond, who's my neighbour who buys this. And it's got all this stuff about what... Rag. I don't buy it. I'm just clarifying.
But yeah, let's read out the headline there. It says Operation Chaos. Whitehall secret plan leaked.
Secret no deal plan.
Yeah.
Leaked.
We'll talk about this when your man gets here, because we want to talk about Project Fear in the next video. But this one we're trying to stick to.
Yeah, but the point is about this is that we were told all of this stuff, and Jeremy Corbyn immediately said after the referendum, trigger Article 50.
Trigger Article 50.
Now, and
no provisions, no provisos.
Where would we be now if we'd done that?
Imagine signing a contract with someone, right? And it doesn't say in the contract that they have to get anything done, but then at the end of it, they burn your house down.
I know.
And it's like, yeah, but you'll definitely have another house for me to move into. Maybe. Can we put that in the contract? Can we put that in the bill? So it says, if after 2 years we still haven't got a deal that Parliament can agree on, we take it back to the people. Or could we have a thing that said, we're not going to trigger Article 50 until we have all our ducks in a row and we know what we want? Because what happened with Theresa May's deal is that they spent a year and a half after triggering Article 50 faffing around. We had a general election, which she then lost a majority with.
Yeah.
So then we were beholden to the DUP. And then we got to this point
And
now,
of course they're
this year,
perfectly sane, aren't they?
last year, around November, the EU, all 27 other countries of the EU, sign off on this withdrawal agreement. They'll go, yeah, that's fine, we'll do that.
And this is not the future trading arrangement, this is the withdrawal
this
agreement.
This is just a transition period, basically. It's just covering that until we have a trade deal, which can take 5 to 7 years.
Yeah.
Actually, it can take longer than that.
It can.
Trade deals are really fucking complicated. It's not like buying a used car.
Yeah, I'll have the blue one rather than the green one.
But Jeremy Corbyn, he said, let's activate Article 50, and he whipped his MPs in January and February 2017 to vote with the Conservatives to activate Article 50, thereby stripping EU citizens of their rights in this country, thereby stripping British citizens of their rights in other countries, because it's beholden on the country that they're in, whether they can stay or not.
And look what came out in the news yesterday. The freedom of movement will end. So if there's now talk of EU citizens who were told during the referendum, your situation, if you're already here, will not change. It'll just carry on.
Are you saying people told lies during the referendum? Did anyone tell the truth?
Well, there were lies on both sides.
Yeah. Did anyone tell the truth in that referendum?
Well, there were a lot of lies. There were a lot of lies. But people were told yesterday by the headbanger-in-chief, Priti Patel, that freedom of movement will end for EU citizens. They might be on holiday visiting family back in Germany or France or Lithuania, wherever they're from, and all of a sudden...
Well, it won't affect holidays. What it will affect is, if you're in your 30s or 40s and you're living in the UK, you've been here for 20 years, you've got kids in the UK, you've got a husband or a wife in the UK, you need to go back to France or Spain because your elderly parent is ill and has dementia, and you need to go and help look after them until they die of dementia. Because you've been out the country for 3 months, you won't be allowed to come back and live with your own children in this country anymore.
Yeah.
We're tearing families apart.
We are. And that's one of the things that I find the most heartbreaking about all of this. I mean, these people, they've cared for us. And you know, you'd think that the Labour Party would be there with open arms for these people because they care for us. They work in our NHS, our care homes. They work in our cafes. You know, they're engineers who work on the railways here and work on the roads here. And the Labour Party is complicit under Corbyn in causing these people such heartache. Forget the rules. The rules are one thing, but it's the heartache. The reason why
they can do this is because there was a vote in the House of Commons earlier this year about freedom of movement, and Labour abstained. So seriously, if you are an EU citizen, you're living in the United Kingdom, and you still respect Jeremy Corbyn in any way, shape or form.
Well, if you're a British citizen...
Have a look at that fact. They abstained. Yeah, if you're a British citizen living in Spain.
Yeah.
Nice retirement, you're having fun. How much was it for your dad? For France?
£600 a month for medical cover. Medical insurance.
£600 a month for medical insurance in France in the result of a no deal.
He's still going, you know. He said, fuck I'm going.
Yeah, but most British pensioners who living in the Costa del Sol can't afford that.
Well, that's right. You know, but I think
they seem to think this only goes one way. Freedom of movement's going to end for every British citizen.
How many people who were in the EU and they were in the 15-year rule, they turned around and said, because you could vote in the referendum if you'd been in the country, if you'd not left the country more than 15 years ago, you could still vote in this fraud-referendum. But what makes me laugh is the amount of people who went to Spain and said, I'm going to vote to leave the EU.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about Turkey's voting for Christmas, you know?
Well, Turkey's voting for Turkey not to join the EU and us be flooded with Turks, which is really ironic because isn't there a plant that's just been taken over by the Turks? Scunthorpe, which
British
voted
Steel,
66% to leave.
No, I think they voted 69% to leave because it's slightly higher than Rotherham.
69% to leave.
And
Steelworks
goes broke because they've got no orders from Europe because
of Brexit.
And
who comes to save the day, Adam?
the Turkish military pension fund. How fucking dumb is that?
That's broken my irony meter. Springs flying everywhere. Oh my God! Right, so thanks, Turkey.
Thanks for saving what's left of our steel industry.
Scunthorpe, yeah.
Now, we can't call it.
Listen, right, so Jeremy Corbyn can't command the respect of the majority of Remainers, and the majority of MPs are Remainers. Do you see the problem there? He is a lifelong leaver. He is a lifelong Eurosceptic. He's hated the EU project since it first began. He thinks that it's part of an international capitalist club that is there to make money for the rich and take it from the poor and give it to the rich. When the reality is, the only reason why the Tories are so gung-ho for Brexit is because the EU tax directives that are coming in that are going to clamp down on all the loopholes that allow these rich motherfuckers to sit there on all their wealth and not pay tax on it. Not pay their fair share of tax.
These people
who made it by themselves. I'm a self-made man. No, you're fucking not. If you were born in this country, you didn't crawl like your mum and make your own milk. You didn't build your own roads or your own bridges or your own infrastructure. You didn't build your own school and pay for the teachers individually to teach you. Yeah. You used all that stuff. You didn't make the sewers that you flush your shit down for the first 18 years of your life. You did not pay for that. People who are now dead paid for that. Yeah. And people who are now dead built the motherfucking thing. And people still have to maintain it. And you have to pay them for that. That is the price of living in society. And you can think that this libertarian fucking ideal of, oh no, it'll be fine, you know, I can look after myself. Yeah, when there's a mob of rampaging 50 people turn up to your house and want to rape you, what the fuck are you going to do? What the fuck are you going to do? Are you going to call the police?
Call the police, yeah.
What if there's no police? Oh, we don't need the police. I don't want to pay tax. I don't want to pay for... Why should I pay for other people to use the police? It's not about that, dickhead. It's a social contract. And if you want to live a life of anarchy, get in a time machine, go back to Mogadishu in 1992 and see how long you last. So I get really scouse when I get really passionate about this. It really fucks me off. You go, I'm a self-made man. I'm like, oh right, so you made your way out of the slums of Nairobi. Yeah? Fuck off. You grew up in a country that looks after its citizens, gives out generous pensions, generous healthcare, incredibly generous healthcare.
Incredibly generous. I mean,
people take it for granted. People take our country for granted.
Do you know what I think
they don't care?
I think they should do with healthcare. What they should actually do is give everyone a prepaid invoice at the hospital.
Yeah.
You know, because when I had cancer, I was treated. I was treated in Australia, but I was treated under NHS funds because they have a reciprocal healthcare arrangement with them, and it literally cost hundreds of thousands of dollars for the operation, the follow-up scans, and the chemotherapy. And it's like, seriously, if it wasn't for our health service and the Australian health service, I'd be dead. Yeah. Which is not a good place to be.
Gosh, my mum was in the hospital in Liverpool the other day, and the room was just full of people complaining about how long they had to wait. And it's like, it's free.
Oh no! It's paid for by the state.
Yeah, but I mean, it's free,
at the point of use.
Yeah. If you want a very, very fast, efficient service, join fucking Bupa. Have you got the money to do that? No. Well, shut the fuck up then.
Yeah.
The NHS is incredible. There's no other country in the world that has an NHS like what we do. No other country. There's 200 other countries out there, and none of them have managed to do it. And it's not just remarkable for the people who work in the NHS and make it a success, because it's all about the people who work there.
Yeah.
It's also the fact that it's a system that will look after you no matter what. It doesn't look in your wallet beforehand.
Yeah, because I know someone who was in a road accident in Zimbabwe, and the first thing that they did at the ambulance was say, "Get your wallet out," when the ambulance turned up.
Well, in Australia, if you don't have ambulance cover, which is a separate medical insurance to your medical insurance, which you get through work, they've got kind of an equivalent of Medicaid and Medicare over there.
Yeah, they've got Medicare.
But that's a payment system where you get your money back. So you go and see the doctor, and then you claim the money back if you're a low earner or unemployed. But
you only get so much back.
Yeah, that's true. But you have to pay up front. So you have to have the funds up front to pay to go and see the doctor.
But it's still a good system in Australia.
No, where's it got to come to? Ambulance? Is that an ambulance?
No, it's the Rozzers.
Rozzers.
They're coming for us again.
They're on to us.
Every time we do one of these about them.
Yeah, but the ambulance in Australia, if you don't have ambulance cover, it costs up to $2,000 to get picked up by an ambulance. So you have people bleeding at the side of the road going, "Don't pick me up because
I'll make me away to hospital.
I can't afford it." Yeah. Pregnant mothers whose waters broke.
Oh no.
Getting a taxi to the hospital.
No. Pregnant women are covered.
Are they? Okay.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Oof. I'm glad you're here to tell me this, so people in the comments don't have to.
Yeah. The Medicare system in Australia is pretty good. New Zealand has a good Medicare system as well. I lived there for 3.5 years, but all general practice is paid for. You have to pay for that, and you can't get medical insurance for it. If you want to see a GP, you have to pay. The hospital, it's all covered in your taxes and your Medicare levy.
If you use the PDSA, which is vets for people who are on low income or unemployed, so that they can actually see the vet, because vets charge a lot of money to go to the vet. Top tip, by the way, a lot of the medicines that your vet will recommend for your cat or your dog, or your,
I was going to say, this is not for humans, this is for animals,
are available elsewhere for a lot less. There's a lot of price gouging that goes on with British vets. Sorry vets, I know it's a shit job that you've got. You love animals and you spend the whole time killing them, but I've got to say you do take the piss a little bit when it comes to medicines, but that's off the point. When you go to the PDSA, they actually give you an invoice of how much it would have cost if you'd gone to a normal vet.
Is that right?
Yeah.
They should do that with the NHS.
And so you look at it and you go, oh, okay, yeah.
So, but it's interesting because, I mean, bringing this back, the NHS, which I think is wonderful. I've got very good friends of mine who work in the NHS.
Do you know who else thinks the NHS is wonderful? Donald Trump.
Oh, yeah. He's wanting to get his grubby paws into the NHS and Greenland.
We'll come on to that.
That's a whole other podcast, isn't it?
So random.
You know, I think the NHS is wonderful. And I was listening to, so Graham very kindly put up a telephone conversation I was involved with James O'Brien on LBC.
It's going to make it sound like you were tapping in.
It does.
Gene Hackman. The conversation.
He does creepy stuff. But he very kindly put this up on his page. That same day, or it might have been the day before actually, but a guy phoned in, and he was an Italian doctor who had heard there was shortages of doctors in the NHS in a town called Grimsby, which is sort of North Lincolnshire, Humberside. And it's a fishing port, and they voted overwhelmingly for Brexit. Now, this guy was an Italian doctor, so very well qualified, very well educated, qualified to an equal standard as ours, at least. And he got in his car and drove from Italy to Grimsby.
Do you reckon it was a Cinquecento Fiat 500?
It's a... Well, I drive a Saab, and that is a long drive, and I'm not in a hurry to go to Grimsby from Rotherham.
I know a couple who drove from Milan to Melbourne in a Fiat 500. A really funny story, because they got to the border with China, and when I was talking in the last podcast about having to pay loads of money.
Oh, they had to pay?
No, they couldn't afford it, so they had to air freight their own car. Right, and then it gets better. Right, the car was like 2 inches too big to fit in the air crate, so they had to take the bumpers off, and it was still a little bit too big, like half an inch too big, so they had to get a hammer and hammer the back of the car to fit in the crate so they could fly it to Thailand.
That's incredible, isn't it? Yeah. Anyway, so getting back to this fella, he put this you know, he put all his worldly belongings, earthly belongings in this car, and he drove from Italy to Grimsby to look after us. And I think we should do this in a pubcast or something. We should get someone from the EU and say to people, did you vote for Brexit? Yes, I did. Tell them to fuck off. This man drove here to look after us.
Yeah, but he's foreign. Came out of his mum's
But we didn't mean him.
downstairs bits in the wrong place of the world.
But
There are invisible lines to consider here, man.
but
Borders drawn by cartographers
Yeah.
in the Elizabethan age. It's very important.
It's just staggering how we're treating these people. And the thing is that Jeremy Corbyn, who's supposedly this big NHS supporter, is handing this madness on a silver platter.
Hello, Mr. Trump. Take it. Take it.
I mean,
because we don't have anything else to sell. Because we've already sold off the national grid to Qatar and China. We've already sold off the trains. Our trains are nationalised. It's just the wrong nation owns them. No, really. Aviva's owned by Deutsche Bahn, and the other one is owned by SNCF, which is the French. So there's the German and the French railway. National railway companies own our trains.
And who sold them? Was that the EU sold it to them?
No. I think it was Labour, actually.
Yeah. Well, either way, it was the British government, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So
it was our decision.
It was our decision. Trickle down wealth for the French.
Anyway, so we haven't got the trains. We've got the steel. Oh no, we haven't got the steel. We've got the cut. Oh, we haven't got the coal. Oh, we've got British Telecom. Oh, we haven't got them. Okay. No. What can we sell the Yanks to get a good trade deal?
The health service.
Actually, a good trade deal. A trade deal.
Not a good trade deal.
Not a good one. Because the American economy is 8 times bigger than ours.
But that trade deal will be kiboshed because
we're going to break the Good Friday Agreement.
So there we go.
God, it feels like we're going around in circles here. So, what should Jeremy Corbyn do right now? Because he is the most powerful man in the world.
Am I allowed to say that?
Well, you can do. Yeah, you just did.
You're not going to edit that bit out.
No, because I will never wish death on anyone. But there are some graves that I really look forward to dancing upon.
Yeah.
No, he could stand down.
What? He could stand down.
He could stand down. He could stand the fuck down. Stand down, Jeremy.
Because they have to have someone who can command respect from both sides of the house.
You're about as popular as Anthrax, and I do not mean the heavy metal band.
Well, they were shit anyway, weren't they? But
they were no Sepultura.
They need to have respect from both sides of the house. So who has respect from both sides of the house?
Harriet Harman.
Harriet Harperson and Ken Clarke.
Harriet Harman would be even better because she's Labour.
Well, yeah, I mean, there is some of that, but it's...
You got the Labour people go, Ken Clarke voted for these Tory things, because he's a Tory, you knobhead. But we don't want a lifelong Eurosceptic who's now pretending to be a Remainer to be leader of the interim government, right? We want someone who has been on the record, like Ken Clarke, being a pro-EU voter in Parliament every fucking time, every step of the way.
And he did actually vote for Theresa May's withdrawal agreement.
He did, yep. As did Boris Johnson at the end.
Oh, well, yeah, he flipped and flopped, didn't he? Which is what he does.
They all did. Rees-Mogg, he went for Theresa May's agreement.
In the end.
Which was all right. Actually, no, it wasn't all right. It was all right.
No. No.
It's not hard enough. We want a harder Brexit. We want... And something I put on Twitter today... We'll cover this a bit more in the next podcast about the leaking of the what's happening. What we got?
No, something really expensive just went that way. Sorry.
I love how easily distracted you are. I made this really great point when we were at the cricket club. I was going blah 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 blah, and you turned around and went, "Oh, they're playing cricket," and I'm like, "Dude."
Your position is here where there's a window, shiny things make me quite happy.
It's like Homer Simpson. A dog with a fluffy tail. Anyway, so Jeremy Corbyn stepped aside as leader. But this is the maddest thing ever. He doesn't even need to do that. He doesn't need to step aside. He can just
say leader of the Party,
Yeah.
leader of the opposition,
And lead them into absolute fucking tragedy in the next general election. Because if me and Adam, who are, I'm going to say sane, rational human beings, but I don't know how true that is.
with this.
Dressed as the greatest showman. If Adam and I, who were Labour members, we're not just Labour voters, we were Labour members who used to turn up to the tedious little fucking local meetings and stuff. And
I didn't.
Anyway, we actually bothered to get involved.
Yeah. So I did vote for Jeremy Corbyn to become leader of the Labour Party. I was taken in by him, but you didn't.
I didn't vote for him, but when he was elected, I had a drink with a friend of mine, a British friend of mine in Panama, who was also a Labour voter. We said, here's to Jeremy, we hope he does well. We wished him all the best. And he has done nothing but basically climbed up a tree and shat all over our picnic. It's literally what he's done. Thanks a lot, Jeremy.
Yeah.
He hasn't been there for Labour voters. No. He hasn't been there for EU citizens. He hasn't been there for Jews. He hasn't been there for minorities. He's been there for the wingnuts, and he has enabled people who are, you know, one of the things that, did you see that article that was Layla Moran wrote?
Oh yeah.
Because she's part Palestinian. She wrote a piece for one of the newspapers, I think it was The Guardian, about the fact that there's anti-Semitism in the Labour Party because they keep conflating it with Palestine and Israel.
Yeah.
It does so much damage to the pro-Palestinian cause. It really does.
Yeah.
If you genuinely care about Palestine and you're not just using it as an excuse to, you know, bash Jewish people over their head with, oh, you're bad because you do these bad things. Like, I've got nothing to do with that. That's the Israeli government.
Yeah, exactly.
In the same way you can't go and punch someone who's Muslim because of the actions of the Iranian government or the Saudi Arabian government or the Sudanese government.
When you're talking about people who are headbangers in the Israeli government, did you see what Netanyahu's wife did the other day?
No.
She was on a plane. And because the pilot didn't announce to all the other passengers that she was on the plane, she tried to get in the cockpit. I mean, like, talk about full of your own self-importance.
I hate Netanyahu. I really hate him. I said that on the Corbyn video that we did, didn't I hate him as much as I hate Trump. I hate him as much as I hate Boris Johnson. But we're not sitting here talking about Boris Johnson because Boris Johnson's just a twat. And he always will be. He's an opportunist, lying piece of shit. If you go out there on the streets,
everyone will tell.
And you ask even lifelong Tory voters, even people who love Boris Johnson, will agree that he's a liar. They'll say he's a liar, but I like him anyway.
And
because he tells it like it is.
And that's the thing about some of these people who are in power and have these extraordinary positions of power.
Yeah.
Like Robert Mugabe. People knew he was a liar. People knew he was the Antichrist, but they still loved him in Zimbabwe because he had this idea, and he wasn't colonialism and all that kind of stuff.
The 1/3 of the population that left under his rule didn't love him very much.
But a lot of people did, and does that sound familiar? Because there's people leaving this country
and South Africa
and Australia and New Zealand,
Malawi. I met a lot of Zimbabweans when I was travelling around Southern Africa, you know, exiles, and they would say to me exactly what, you know, I hear a lot is like, we're waiting for Mugabe to die. Obviously he's stood down now, under great pressure, but his clowns are still in government.
Yeah, exactly.
But Mugabe, they were, when Mugabe dies, I will go home and be with my family again.
Yeah.
And when I travelled around Libya, same thing, people were waiting for Gaddafi to die because then things might get better. Although they probably won't because one of his fucking sons might take over.
Yeah.
We'll probably take over.
That's another podcast.
We're supposed to be a democracy, but we're actually a monarchy. Cuba. Anyway,
Right.
What was I talking about?
I can't remember. This was all about Jeremy Corbyn.
No, it's supposed to be about the vote of no confidence and how this would work. So, if there is a vote of no confidence in Boris Johnson, and then we can't form
he can't form a majority.
not him, but like anyone else can't form a majority because it's blocked by Jeremy Corbyn going, if there's going to be a government of national unity, I have to be in charge of it. His fucking ego going out of the bloody stratosphere. If that happens, then Boris Johnson can say, okay, well, we'll have a general election then.
And he'll romp it.
On the 1st of November.
I'm not sure that will happen. I'm not sure that will happen.
Why?
Because
it's automatic. We have a general election.
Yes.
And he gets to set the date.
But there will be a huge amount of pressure for him to do it before Brexit. Is it John Bercow? He said that no deal is not going to happen due to Boris Johnson proroguing Parliament.
Yeah, but this isn't proroguing.
No, but they do prorogue Parliament for a general election. It's the same technical thing.
Right.
So he will do that, and John Bercow said that won't happen for a general election, or for him just to prorogue it, just to have a Queen's speech, so he can bring back whatever deal, or go out with no deal. The leader, the Speaker of the House, has said that won't happen.
But who's the leader of the House?
The leader of the House is someone different.
It's Jacob Rees-Mogg.
Yes. And
What does the leader of the House do? Do you know how many Rees-Moggs had to be killed for this hat?
That's a pretty harsh thing to say.
I had to skin them alive.
We don't go killing politicians or
The leader
their
of the House
families.
sets the agenda for the House. The Speaker doesn't really do that. He's not supposed to do that. He can.
But he's
Thing in private
he has got a huge amount
members.
of power.
Look, I think we could just sum this whole situation up as this is a huge clusterfuck that would be so much easier if the leader of the opposition was a Remainer.
But he isn't.
No. He wants Brexit to happen. And he said we're going to have a referendum for the British people to decide if we get elected, which is the odds against it. Go on Paddy Power. Go on Betfair. Find out what the odds are of Labour winning an election. And that's astronomical. I think you'll make about £3,000 on a tenner bet. It is astronomical.
I'm going to have some
because they're not going to command the majority. They're just not.
Not with him as leader.
Yeah,
definitely not.
So you've got this mad situation where we are completely beholden to this guy who is a lifelong leaver, now saying, "Oh, I'm going to remain, and if we win, we'll have a referendum, a second one, because the first one wasn't disruptive enough, and in that referendum, there's got to be no deal because he said all options had to be on it, but also, did he say that Labour were going to? He said Remain would be on the ballot." Did he say that Labour were going
to be a Remain party? Not that I'm aware of, but you can correct us in the comments.
No. Well, he won't be. I mean, he's a leaver. He wants to leave the EU.
Yeah.
Desperately, which is just fucking insane for all the reasons that we've said. And we'll come on to this a bit more in the next podcast because we're talking about Project Fear in the next podcast, which is going to be coming along very shortly, as long as it takes me to upload it to YouTube, I guess, after this one. But essentially, we're going to be asking this question. If it's even just a 1% chance that your grandchildren will go to bed hungry as a result of Brexit, isn't that a reason not to do it?
Well, but people, it's a cult. It's an absolute cult.
They're that confident that it's all going to be great.
Yeah.
And why isn't the government releasing any, secretly leaking any white papers of all the positives of Brexit, all the good things that it's going to bring to this country?
Even we've touched on this in videos in the past, haven't we? Even in a good deal, it's still going to have a detrimental effect on our economy. And then people call it Project Fear, and then now they're saying, well, we voted for that.
Yep. So put your hand up if you have confidence in Boris Johnson.
I'm just looking around the cafe and nobody's put their hands up.
Put your hand up if you've got confidence in Jeremy Corbyn.
Not a single... Oh, he just put his hand up, but it was to wipe the window.
Working it. So essentially, if we do have a vote of no confidence, unless we're going to get trapped into a situation where there will be a general election in which Boris Johnson is going to go down the no deal route, he'll get all the headbangers over from the Brexit party, which equals with the standard Tory voters plus Brexit party people 40% of the vote, and that's all you need to command the majority in the House of Commons. You don't need over 50%.
Yeah, because we've got a broken electoral system as well. So, and on that note,
wow, well, you've cheered me up no end. Should we cheer people up by saying, hey, there's going to be a party in Manchester?
There's going to be an elephant, but it's not a real elephant.
We're going to have an inflatable elephant. It's the Cirque de Resistance is coming to town. We're going to have a parade. We're going to have a Guinness World Record attempt for the biggest gathering of clowns in the one place.
So we need 800 of you to come dressed as
least
clowns.
800.
At least 800.
Yeah. And then we're going to have this huge, big political rally that's like no political rally you've ever seen before. It's going to be music and comedy and cabaret and circus and magic tricks and food and drink from all over the EU 27. It's going to be a massive celebration of Europe
and it's going to be
our
called
place in Europe.
Euphoria, capital E, capital U. Euphoria.
Yeah, because I wanted the word that meant happiness and had EU in it.
And we're not going to mention the B word.
Well, we're going to try not to. I'm sure it'll pop up now and again. I was thinking of doing a Monty Python sketch. You know, we were talking about the 4 Yorkshiremen. We'll do one where it's a spam sketch, but it's Brexit.
Yeah.
Brexit. I don't like Brexit.
I want Brexit, eggs and Brexit.
Yeah. We've got eggs, Brexit, eggs, bacon and Brexit. There's not much Brexit in it. Yeah. That's going to be the country for the next 50 years if we continue down this insane route of insaneness. So let's start turning things around and talking about the positives.
And be
of
positive
EU
about the EU. And you know what's really worrying me? Can I just say something? You might edit this out. But what's worrying me is that if we do leave the EU, there's going to be people protesting in London, and there's going to be people who are going to be on the BBC and they're going to be crying that we're leaving the EU. Don't cry. Get angry that we're leaving the EU. Get passionate about what the EU has actually done for us. Yeah. Don't shed a tear because if we do leave, we're going to be campaigning to take us back in.
Well, yeah, that's it. That's the thing.
So the
numbers are on our side. This is why I'm so relaxed about all this. You know, I make these videos and I'm really passionate about it. But at the end of the day, young people want to stay in the EU. That means within 5 to 10 years, we'll be back in with a much worse deal than we've got at the moment. We'll probably have to adopt the euro because the pound will be fucking worthless.
Yeah.
We'll probably have to join Schengen because that's what Ireland will do immediately after we leave. They'll join Schengen.
Yep.
So,
But don't shed a tear. Be proud of what the EU has done for us. I just want to say that because what will happen is that the BBC will broadcast it and it'll be all over these headbangers' Twitter feeds that, oh, look at these snowflakes crying and, you know, you lost, get over it. Don't give them the propaganda. Be proud of the EU.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. I think that's one of the problems we've had on our side.
And that puts the fear of God into the leavers because they know that they're in the long term, they lose.
They're losing. They are losing.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
Demographics is a bitch.
Yeah. Anyway.
All right, so that about wraps it up. We'll be back in a few hours, I think, with another podcast, which will be about Project Fear. Ooh. Until then, here's to the EU.
Here's to the EU.
Cheers.
Euphoria.